Running for president of the United States is huge. It would be a huge, huge thing to play this man. Let me tell you something that I can tell you. I love women. In all seriousness, Donald Trump is probably the most tragic, tragic Shakespearean character in American history.
Make America great again. My comment is, do you accept that that could possibly be construed as a racist remark?
Remember when Breaking Bad's Walter White said, "I am the danger"? Well, Bryan Cranston just became Trump's worst nightmare, dismantling his entire MAGA fantasy with cold, hard historical facts. While Trump's been busy claiming America was once great, Cranston asks the million-dollar question, great for who exactly?
And most people, a lot of people go, how could that be racist? Make America great again? Just ask yourself from an African-American experience, when was it ever great in America for the African?
In all seriousness, Donald Trump is probably the most tragic Shakespearean character in American history.
The answer's got Trump looking like someone just told him his tie is fake. Spoiler alert, it probably is. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Cut from that iconic Breaking Bad scene to Bryan Cranston in a suit on a talk show, calmly discussing American politics.
That we have never seen before. But he is an anomaly to presidential politics in America. I think he's an anomaly to humankind.
When was it great? So if you're making it great again, it's not including.
He's an absurd person. He's a ridiculously idiotic person.
Talk about a plot twist. The man who played America's favorite meth-cooking chemistry teacher has transformed into something way more threatening to Donald Trump, an articulate political commentator who actually knows his history. While Walter White was busy building a drug empire with scientific precision, Bryan Cranston was apparently developing some serious political chops behind the scenes. It's like finding out your high school science teacher moonlights as a constitutional scholar. The contrast between Heisenberg's moral bankruptcy and Cranston's thoughtful political commentary is almost as stark as the difference between Trump's rambling speeches and, well, complete sentences.
Massive, commands attention, demands it. His wake leaves tremendous, problem.
He's a supreme narcissist, and he runs because he wants the title. He really wants the title.
Make America great again. My comment is, do you accept that that could possibly be construed as a racist?
He's an absurd person. He's a ridiculously idiotic person.
Cranston's appearances on Bill Maher's show have showcased a side of him that's worlds away from the menacing drug kingpin we all know. Instead of intimidating rivals with intense stares, he's been dismantling Trump's rhetoric with calm logic and historical context. The man delivers political takedowns with the same methodical precision that Walter White used to cook Blue Crystal. Except instead of producing drugs, he's dropping truth bomb. In one particularly spicy segment, Cranston didn't hold back, calling Trump an absurd person and a ridiculously idiotic person. The audience erupted in applause. But Cranston wasn't just going for cheap laughs. Unlike so many celebrities who mistake Twitter rants for political discourse, Cranston brings receipt. He backs up his criticism with actual substance, making points that have clearly hit a nerve with Trump supporters and delighted his critics. But his most devastating critique wasn't just calling Orange Man bad, it was something far more substantive. Cranston took aim at the very core of Trump's political identity, that famous red hat slogan. You know, the one that's been plastered on everything from baseball caps to truck flags to those weird golden Trump sneakers. Turns out Bryan Cranston doesn't need fictional drug money to make an impact. He's using his platform to make actual substantive arguments rather than just throwing around empty celebrity platitudes. The guy who played Heisenberg is apparently smarter than not just the character he portrayed, but also the former president he's criticizing. Underneath that famous red hat slogan lurks an uncomfortable question that Trump supporters desperately avoid. Exactly which great American era are we supposed to return to? Cranston went straight for the jugular when he asked, "In America for the African American, when was it great?" 4 seconds of awkward silence followed that question, which tells you everything about the hollow promise behind Trump's favorite catchphrase. What MAGA fans don't want to admit is that their nostalgic fantasy of America's good old days wasn't exactly good for everyone. While Trump rambles about bringing back the 1950s prosperity, he conveniently forgets about segregated water fountains and lunch counters. Cranston's question exposes the fundamental problem with trying to go back to a mythical American golden age. It never existed for huge portions of our population. But Cranston didn't stop there. He dropped a history comparison that had Trump looking more confused than when someone explains how wind turbines work. Cranston suggested America should handle its darker chapters the way Germany confronts its troubling past. I think it's imperative that it's taught that we look at our history much the same way Germany has looked at their history involved in the Wars 1 and 2 and embrace it, he explained, probably using words too big for Trump's vocabulary flashcards. You could almost see the loading icon spinning above Trump's head as he tried to process this idea. Germany doesn't have "Make Deutschland Great Again" hats because they actually teach their children about Nazi atrocities instead of pretending everything was awesome back in the day. Meanwhile, Trump's busy trying to ban books that mention racism while pushing a slogan that basically says, "Let's go backward." Cranston's point cuts deep. Acknowledging America's historical failures isn't unpatriotic. It's actually essential for creating the greatness Trump claims to want. Critical race theory isn't about making white kids feel bad. It's about understanding where we've been so we can figure out where we're going. The actor dismantled Trump's empty slogan with the same methodical precision that Walter White would use to analyze a chemistry problem. And there we have it, folks. Cranston has joined the ranks of celebs who aren't just talking trash, but actually bringing some substance to the table. John Legend and Mark Ruffalo have been doing this too, focusing on real issues like social justice and climate change rather than just calling Trump names. What makes Cranston stand out, though, is how he went from being TV's favorite criminal to America's unexpected history teacher. The guy who once cooked crystal meth is now cooking up history lessons that Trump just can't seem to swallow. Let's be honest, when celebrities actually use their fame to make thoughtful points instead of just looking pretty on Instagram, it's kind of refreshing. Turns out Bryan Cranston doesn't need blue meth to blow minds. Just some basic American history that apparently Trump never learned. Maybe Trump should have called Saul, or better yet, maybe he should have called a history tutor.